How is everyone? How's your week going? Hi, Ritika. I'll dive right in. Uh, I feel as a designer, there are a lot of inspiring moments in your life from the time that you travel for the first time for a research project to the time that you learn a particular craft, or the first time you stitch or make your garment in your college. I think the journey has so much that gets you excited, that gets you to dream. Even probably shooting your first campaign, they all ignite a certain fire in you, and it gives you a perspective on what your vision really is. One such moment for me was, when I first saw Lakshmi Rana, the supermodel, on a ramp for designer Rohit Bal. She was, I saw her on the runway wearing this classic white malmal jalabia, and she twirled and she stopped. And, it was the first time that I felt that a show had become an experience for me. I felt like I've witnessed a certain goddess, and there were mounds and mounds of fabric, and then she had these two red roses in her hair. And not to take away from Rohit's beautiful grandeur and the magnificent set that he had created at Kuli Khan Tomb, but when Lakshmi came on the ramp, it felt like I wanted to stand up and acknowledge uh, the charm with one that she carried the garment. She made it her own. It became about her more than just the clothes. So it was that day that I decided that no matter what happens, whenever Torani is launched, whenever I bring the brand forward, I would launch it with her and her face, and I'd get her to model my clothes, because it had kind of become um, almost like a dream for me. And I was really glad that whenever that time came, I could afford her, number one. But it was, I think, in June 2018, 2 years back, that we shot our first campaign with Lakshmi. And then ever since then, she has kind of remained a muse for me. So today, for the seventh episode of Tuesdays at Torani, I wanted her to come in and give in a perspective of on fashion from where she is in her life and her career, and what are the makings of a supermodel. So I thought it'll be nice to bring her on board. So I'm just going to add her in a moment. I think she's just going to join us. Yeah. Hi, Lakshmi.
Hi, Karan. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you? You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me.
How have you been? How's the lockdown treating you? How's this time been for you?
Ah, oh, it's been well. I don't know. I can't hear you too well. I'll just increase the volume. Let's see.
Is this
Yeah.
better? Yes.
Yeah, this is better. Well, it has had its ups and downs. For the first 2 months, I was really happy that I have this time with my family, which probably hasn't happened for years. And
Yes.
the industry. You're working back to back. And so the first 2 months, when this happened, I was having a great time. But so slowly and steadily, missing my work. I'm missing, my travels. I'm missing meeting my friends. I'm missing the runway. I'm missing my shoots. I'm missing a lot of things at the moment.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm very positive, and
Yes.
that's the only way to be.
Yes.
Let's see how it goes.
Absolutely. I was just in my introduction, I was telling everybody that, um, and I'll just run through it once again, that I think this was special for me and important for me to have you on this session. Also, because I think I'd asked a while ago, and then we were planning, and then it came to be. Because I remember when the first time, I think I'd seen this grand fashion show of Rohit Bala. I think I've spoken about that to you as well. It was at Kuli Khan Tomb, and you're wearing this beautiful white jalabia. And since then, I had in my mind mentally decided that whenever my brand launches or I could afford someone like you, I would just make it happen. And luckily for me, that happened in 2018, when the first time I shot for my brand, and we did a shoot together. And ever since then, I think I've been lucky again to have this beautiful friendship with you. So I felt it'll be nice to get a perspective from you of how you are dealing with it, how different people in the industry, because especially I feel like a job like yours comes into a certain informal sector, because for a lot of them, for us also, I think our job is still like, even though it's about creation and imagining something new every time, there's still boundaries around it. We work from 9 to 7, we go to our office, then once in 6 months we shoot a new collection, we do something interesting, but other times everybody has to kind of address to office. But yours and many others, from makeup artists, everybody else has a different kind of journey, which I thought would be interesting to talk about. So the format of this interview, as I said, would be an exchange of questions. You get 4 questions and I get 4 questions. So I'll just dive right in and not take too long. Not many know that you have been a graduate in maths and physics. You were a qualified pilot for the Indian Air Force. How did a flying pilot for the Indian Air Force become a supermodel? I mean, that's just really insane. Please share your journey. How did that happen?
Well, that's amazing that you know that, because that I haven't really mentioned it in too many places. I did not. I actually, my childhood dream was to become a pilot. And I remember I was also studying for engineering. You go through a set pattern when you're growing up.
Yeah.
And I was with this very, very nerdy, extremely studious kind of school as well. I mean, the school was not into too much sports, but it was very much into a lot of studies. And hence, all my classmates were either studying for medicals or engineering or something or the other. So when I got into engineering, I was good at maths and physics. And so I got through, I became the Navy Queen in Dehradun, just by fluke. I don't know. I went for some fun event and I became Navy Queen. I started getting these offers in Dehradun for some show or the other. And my mom told me, you must go for Miss India. So I went for Miss India. I was the top 5, if you remember, in 2000.
Yes.
I still had that dream in my head that, my dream was to become a pilot. And I still wanted to pursue it, even though I started working. I had gotten in Fashion Week 2001. I started working with the best designers, the best choreographers, the best event agencies, everyone. And I was doing well for a newcomer. Yeah. And yet I applied for Indian Air Force. I got through my, I got my call letter. I went through everything. I went through PABT. I went through the pilot aptitude battery test. I went through my SSB. I went through my physicals. I went through my medicals. I got the call letter in my hand. And that is when it struck me that, oh my God, this is serious. Now I have to choose between a very safe and a long-term career in the Indian Air Force, and a profession which actually does not give you that much stability. It's an unpredictable journey. Yeah. And I had to choose between the two. Yeah. After a lot of effort and a lot of thinking, after a lot of conversations with people, I decided to stick to modeling. Not because Air Force wasn't an amazing job and an amazing profession to get into, but because I wanted to explore and take a few more risks in life and, see where that takes me. Yeah, so that's how it happened.
Because especially when you started, I think that time this wasn't even considered a serious career, because modeling and everything else in the country had just begun. The idea of fashion shows also wasn't too long. I mean, it wasn't too old. I mean, it was all very new and everything had just started around that time. I remember very clearly. I mean, it was probably like 4 or 5 years since like fashion weeks, etc. had just started. The idea of modeling, etc. So I think even then, and I think also what says a lot is the fact that you chose to I mean, pursue being a pilot till the end, till the time that you had the letter. Because even in my research, what came about that you had the letter and then you chose not to do it, because I think that's even tougher.
Yes.
Because, you know, like
Yes.
sometimes you leave it just as a thought because you think, okay, I don't want to go through the whole thing. But you went till the end of it, and after you had the letter, then you decided you don't want to do that. Yeah.
And you know what, Karan? I've lost my father then. I mean, just a couple of years back. And my mother almost disowned me because I was saying no to a government job. She
Yeah.
almost disowned me. She said, I'm going to put it in the paper that you're not my daughter anymore. Because it was.
Yeah.
She said, what are you doing? Modeling, really?
Yeah.
And I said, yes,
And again,
Mom.
for those who don't
That's
know,
what I'm doing.
you belong to an army family. You're even married to,
Yes.
you know, an army officer. So that
Yes.
disciplinary kind of blood runs within you. So I think you have that. I think probably that's why your mother was even more disappointed to like not see
Yes.
her daughter get through or take up
Yes.
what she's gotten offered. Okay, so now it's your turn.
True. So, Karan, so I've been thinking about this. You know, I'm surprised that we haven't had this conversation really in length also. You know, we did our first, your first campaign together. And I remember we had met at Rohit Bal's shoot, his campaign shoot. And I had no idea as to what you were planning, honestly. At that point of time, you had come in as a completely different talent. And I had no idea what you were planning. But when I did land up in the shoot and land up on the shoot day and I saw what you were doing, that shoot has been etched in my memory. I mean, I think it's going to last forever because it's one of my most special and one of my most brilliant shoots that I've done in all these years. So I wanted to ask you, and I've been complimented from a million people about this. This shoot of yours is very special, Lakshmi, and you looked brilliant in it. So and you had applied almost no makeup on me. It was a very, very simple look. I wanted to ask you that what is this? What was the narrative behind it? How were you so sure about what you were wanting to do for your first campaign? And were you nervous? Because, you know, that is what would have set you, you know, in stone in the industry. So tell me about it.
So the truth is, I answer the second part first, that the fact is that I'm always nervous. So I feel the fact that you play act confident is a part of the job, which we all do. I think we can't turn away from the fact. I'm sure you get jitters even today, even if, you know, there is a bigger show where you're opening the show and you have some pressures on you and they give you a very difficult garment to hold, because that jitters, I think it always is there. And I think that's the reason we are in this industry, because it just excites you. I was speaking to a friend day before and I was telling them that I'm wanting to grow the brand in a certain sector. And I told him that this just gives me, you know, get me jitters and I'm so nervous. And that's the reason I want to do it, because it keeps me really excited. And now coming to the first question, I started the brand only because I wanted to tell stories. The fact that I get to make clothes is a byproduct of that journey. It really is. And even through the shoot, for me, it was about recreating a certain kind of simplicity, because I remember for a long time, the industry, since the time that I've grown from the 90s, I've only seen that it's always been about grandeur, you know, especially Indian fashion has been about the bigger, the better, you know, the more you deck somebody up, there's, you know, like put more things, put a headgear, put something on the clothes, you know, put crazy things, deck them up. And I simply just wanted to recreate the simplicity or the beauty. So the inspiration was my grandmother, my nani at Bhopal. And I wanted to just recreate that, the simple fact that sometimes she would just tie her hair and some hair would be loose. Sometimes she would be sweating because she was in the kitchen, but she would still wear her sari and, you know, tuck it up. And I remember at the first day of the shoot, we just reached the location. And I was with Pranay, the photographer, and I was discussing with him, should I give them some direction? Because again, I had a lot of nervous energy in me. And, you know, and I remember you looked all around, you look at the atmosphere, and I don't know how to show it, but you just did something like this with your hands, you know, like just this, raising this little finger, and you looked up and you just felt the sky. And Pranay looked at you and said, you don't have to do anything, you have Lakshmi. So and that's what even you do, because it happens very rarely that I think you also break that stereotype of, uh, that models don't really have to think. Because for me, I feel they have so much on their shoulders, because you are the one who's emoting the emotion that I'm trying to show through my clothes. Because God knows I can't wear a sari and pose. So for me, it has to come through you. And that moment for me was about, she's achieved that breathing life through simplicity. And I remember we had put no jewelry, no makeup, nothing. The hair was a little messy, and we just put on that sari on you with a looser kind of a silhouette, etc. And you just rocked it. And for me, that kind of became that gave me the confidence that when it's done with the right people, even simplicity works. Because earlier I was really nervous that maybe I should do something more, add something more, deck it up. Maybe some props are missing, maybe some jewelry is missing. I was like, Aisha was with me, we had got jewelry, but we decided not to put it, because we realized that, with somebody as powerful as you, and the only thing that should work is the clothes, and we don't need anything else. And we just did that. Yeah.
So you know why it was so easy for me, Karan? Let me just tell you this as well. And I have worked with a lot of designers. The one of the reasons why a model can also emote easily on camera is because if the narrative is very clear, if
Yeah.
the designer and if the entire story is very very clear in their head, and there is
Yeah.
no confusion, and they know what they want, and the clothes kind of depict it, so this is for everybody who's trying to start off a new label. And if you're clear about your narrative and you know what you're doing, and your clothes kind of talk about it, I looked at your clothes and I knew that you can't do high fashion in this. This is very very simple. It's about a story. It has a deeper emotion in
Yeah.
it, and hence it was very easy for me to emote that.
But what was really special, you will not believe, Lakshmi, and I should mention this because I think he would also be watching this. My friend Amit, who was at that time at Onsom, and he was the executive kind of merchandiser. He was deciding to which designer they would pick new designers for their stores. So he looked at my shoot, and later he said, I asked him that, every day you kind of see 100 new designers. What made you pick me? Because I'd only put 2 images on social media, and they called for my clothes to sell. And within a week, they had also almost sold out my clothes at Khan Market. So I just
Okay.
asked him, what made you pick me? And this he said, just the way that you had presented Lakshmi. I had never seen Lakshmi like this, because everybody had dressed, because of how powerful your persona is. He said that we had always seen Lakshmi presented in this glamazon kind of a spirit, and
Yeah.
either with very minimal clothes, or sometimes minimal as in less clothes but still glamorous, but or with extremely extravagance. But we had never seen her like this, like complete Indian simplicity. And the fact that you hadn't put any makeup or hadn't tried to overdone it, it just kind of intrigued me that why her? Or I could have picked a normal girl. But so he said that was the reason. And for me, that meant so much, because even for that shoot, I know the first question is taking us all the time, but for me it meant taking somebody special who's special within, but like uh, the outer exterior still feels simple, because that power lies within. And I think that really came through in that shoot. It was really special. Yeah.
Thank you, Karan. It was very special to me too. Your turn.
My turn is, so you have been in the industry for, I think, almost 20 years or more, if I'm not wrong.
20.
And yes, you're a mom too. And what keeps you inspired? Like, I feel like after I've just completed 2 years, and there's always something that I'm searching for, these challenges which scares me. But what keeps you excited on this journey? What keeps you motivated and to keep going and feeling more excited each day about your job?
It's tough to live the same job, honestly. But you know what really makes a difference is, first, I'm by nature a very content human being.
Mm.
So I live my day in the present. I live in the present. I enjoy every single day of mine. I have a vision of what I want to do, but I have been enjoying my journey in the industry a lot. And I've always been enjoying my journey in the industry a lot. The reason being that I meet a lot of interesting people. I see a lot of interesting talent that comes up. In that journey, I met you. And one of the best campaigns that I've ever done came in. And so on and so forth. Basically, you know, I do some of the Pearl Academy shows as well. And I see talent. I see, you know, children trying to, you know, emote through their clothes. And, you know, they're so passionate about it. And in fact, when I go to a Pearl Academy show, I make sure that I'm more careful with that show than I am with any other show, because there is so much of heart and emotions involved in those clothes that I need to make that effort. You know, so it's been an interesting journey for me. As a model, I feel it does give me creative satisfaction in the sense that I get to experience a lot of creativity being put on me. And I am the harbinger of carrying it off to the best of my abilities, to the expectations, to meet the expectations of the designer. You know, so I kind of enjoy. There is a deeper feeling to it. A lot of people get bored and they get frustrated and, you know, all of that. But I feel that this is a fabulous industry to be in. It has given me what it has. And second, you know, I feel a lot of people feel that, you know, a model's job is, you know, pretty simple, walking the ramp and coming off. And I feel it is not. There is a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of effort. And to make it to the top, there is a lot more effort that goes into it and a lot more science behind it than a person would think or believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, just simple fact that, I mean, I think that's what separates a model from a supermodel. I think, and you're an example for that for me, because like I said earlier, I think sometimes somebody who would just get the clothes without having to explain it, or get the mood of the shoot just looking at the clothes, it just simplifies the job of, you know, I remember, like, even in the second one that we did, I remember we had some pigeons kept around and we had done something. There was a jacket, and for me, that was completely about a Sufi soul and, you know, being in the spirit and enjoying. And I remember you told, and my heart sank, and I saw one picture in the camera, and I said, Torani, we've got it, because, and I didn't ask you to, nobody told you what to do. So for me, you know, there are moments like that sometimes create magic, which I feel like also, because in the world that we're living today, you can't explain these things. They just happen when you're on the set. So you realize it when you're working with those people. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my turn, Karan. Now, you know, I've seen the way that you present your things, your narrative again, that, you know, it's inspired by your Nani. And what I wanted to ask you is, in today's times, during these COVID times and during the times when, you know, we are doing a lot of introspection about what we are doing to our world, to our earth, and how we as in the fashion industry should get more conscious about what we are doing. You know, there's a lot of consumerism that's happening, you know. On the other hand, what I see in your narrative is, you know, you make pieces which probably will go on forever. Pieces which are supposed to be handed down through generations to come. You know, there is a story to it. If I have a couple of your pieces, and I know that I will save it, and then I will give it to my daughter one day. So don't you think that what is your view on this, as to how do we explain to people that we need to slow our fashion down? We need to make sure that we invest in the right pieces, and we do not invest in all kinds of fast fashion products that are coming into the market. How do we convey to them? What is your thoughts about it?
So, I mean, I feel that's also very beautifully put by you, because I feel like fashion, especially not just as fashion, I think as consumers also, I've always referred to this, that my responsibility is on 3 platforms. It's not for one. It's not just about okay, I'll only use natural fabrics, so I'll save the planet. You know, like a lot of times we feel like, okay, let's just weave garments and we are doing hand woven, so that's the only way to be sustainable. But I completely, reject that. For me, it's three levels. First is sustaining values. By values, I mean the minute you give value to something and emotion to something, it's but natural for you to preserve it. Don't just hog things because you feel like today, oh, it's looking cool or in trend. Does a shirt make you feel special? Whatever t-shirt are you buying, does that have a memory for you? Did you buy it with a partner? Did somebody gift it to you? And sometimes, when you're looking at your closet, a lot of the times just ask yourself, do I really need this? And if I don't need this, does this hold any meaning to me? That's the only question we need, and first is value. Second is sustaining people. By people, I mean crafts people, anybody, if buying that one garment is sustaining one person a livelihood, then again, it makes sense, sustain that. And the third is, of course, sustaining planet. So these three levels, you have to check yourself, whatever you're consuming, is it standing on any one of the grounds also? Is it sustaining livelihood? Is it sustaining the planet? Or is it sustaining your value? If it's not sustaining or giving you any of the three benefits, then it is a complete wastage of not only a resource, but your money. Because let's be real, agar na value, if you don't even get a value out of it, of feeling something special, then it's just generic. And why would you spend money on generic things? Let's really try. Like, even if you buy an iPhone today, you've chosen to reject 10 things and then pick one iPhone, right? There are hundreds of phones in the market, but you feel like this one gives me something more special because you're going to hold it for another year or 1.5 or 2 years until maybe you want a new phone, but you've chosen it over other things. So the same way, probably with clothes, we need to kind of really make those choices, that is it giving me something more than just one fancy look over a dinner party? So I think those are the questions that I feel are important.
Very true. I also feel that, we Indians are shaped by cultural attributes that shun wastage. For example, if you remember, during my childhood days, there used to be this Bartan Wali who used to come, and we would give our old clothes, and then she would give some utensils for it. Now that was again in exchange of clothes with utensils. Then there was that we have rafubalas all over, where they are there to tend, to kind of fix your clothes in a way that they look fine, and so that you can use them longer. Then again, you pass your saris and your, lehengas to your children and your grandchildren, and they are like heritage pieces which you preserve. And the same goes for jewelry. And I feel we are the generation of forgetting that. We don't value it anymore. So it's really important to do that.
Absolutely. And I'm the younger brother in the family, so I have an elder brother in the house. So my entire life was just wearing whatever was left over of him, because my mother said, now you're going to grow old in another 2 months. I'm not buying new clothes, wear his. So I think till the time I think I was 15 or 16, I have only lived on my brother's clothes, because I just realized that. But today, even after me, some of those sweaters or some of the jackets, my mother is still saved, which probably hold more meaning or didn't wear out completely after two people wearing them all their lives, because she said that I'll make sure your kids wear them or something. And that's the beauty of it, because even if it's torn or something, the fact that, your mother had that same sari that you have today, even if it has a few holes in it, I would love, like one girl came to me, I think before the lockdown, and she had this bandage pink color lehenga of her nani, and it has a lot of tears, because over time wo khich jata hai kapda pade, and she said that, can you do something over it? And just the simple fact that she was in love with that memory, I said, I usually don't take these kind of custom requests, but I said, I'm all for it. Just the simple fact that you have a memory attached, and I'll say, I'll make this work anyhow. And we've been working on that outfit. So I feel that's really, really important. Now, my third question, that again, this is related to COVID, so this will be a bit serious, but there is so much of unemployment. There's so much of talk of unemployment and the fall in the economy due to COVID crisis. However, in fashion, which I also spoke, that there are a lot of informal jobs. There are stylists, freelance makeup artists, models like yourself who have chosen to remain freelance, work. But how do uh, people like those in those informal sector generate income, employment, or continue to remain, making money during a time like this?
It's difficult. It's these are tough times. I feel, honestly, right now we're not even allowed to go out of the house. Um, there's a lot of digital stuff happening. There will be some shoots that will happen. So I feel that very few people, lucky people, will get some work in the next coming few months, and that will be far in between because
Yeah.
of the fact that social distancing is required and the situation is only getting worse at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
But I feel things will start looking up next year. Uh, we humans have this amazing ability to come back
Yeah.
and overcome everything and anything. And in the human section, I feel the Indians are the ones who are the best at it, who can
Yeah.
overcome anything and actually come back and stronger.
Yeah.
So this is the time for everybody to work on themselves, to work on their skills, to work on their own spirituality or whatever they want to get into, to hone their skills, to increase their talent base. There are so many things available online. I feel that it is a time to kind of introspect and learn rather
Yeah.
than think about how do we make money, because it is a difficult thing to do at this point of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So what I would think is that very soon, maybe in another couple of months or maybe by next year early, we might see more shoots happening. I think fashion shows maybe not so much, but shoots will be happening. A lot of people are getting online. There are a lot of brands who are getting online now. They
Yeah.
will need models. They will need makeup artists. They will need all the stylists for these kind of shoots. The shoot concept will probably change. Instead of being more campaign, it will become maybe more, what do you call it, catalogy, maybe just to
Yeah.
showcase their clothes on the digital media. So, but there will be work, but it will be a little slow process. So I feel right now, instead of worrying about that, I feel we need to invest in ourselves. This is the great opportunity to invest in ourselves at the moment.
Yeah. So now it's your turn.
So my question is, again, it's COVID related, Karan. You have been a perfectionist, I know. You make sure that your clothes have this finishing, which I have not seen in many creations in all these years. I'm sure you're supporting a lot of staff as well. What I wanted to ask you is, how do you see yourself? And I've also seen you from the first time you did your campaign. I've seen you grow exponentially. I've seen you doing really well. I've seen you coming up with more amazing campaigns. I've seen a lot of people appreciating your work, and I've seen this momentum. But because of COVID, there is a pause in this momentum, at least temporarily.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with it, and what is the way forward for you and for
So
your brand?
for the first few weeks, it had taken sort of a kind of a toll on me, even mentally, I would admit. And it's easier said than done. And I'd even written about that on the Instagram page of the brand as well, because I thought it's also my responsibility to be real about how I'm feeling, because I feel like as sometimes as brands, and especially with fashion, everything just feels really how do I say, decorated almost all the time, because everything is happy, everything is beautiful, everything is about a celebration. Especially in Indian fashion, we don't really, you don't really see anybody doing gothic fashion as much, or you don't see anybody talking about death or just heartache as such. So I really wanted to put it out there that I too am feeling really low, and it's difficult to get out of it, because from where I started as a designer, as you mentioned, I was assisting people on shoots. I had, I was also doing freelance, and I didn't have a lot of investment with me to make it immediately big. So for me, this journey of 2 years, it's been a lot of hustling. We work really hard each day. We sit in the factory till 5 a.m. in the morning sometimes, and then next day again we're at work at 9 a.m. So it's always been this, almost this mad running around to get things done. But and then suddenly there was this halt which nobody was prepared for, and when it happened, it kind of took us so I took it really hard. And then I realized that after a certain point that maybe the universe was also I was probably taking it I was taking myself too seriously, but I felt like the universe was telling me that I now need to just see the 2 years ka journey and like really look back and what has happened to me in these 2 years, and really see what are the mistakes that I made and what are the achievements that have come and what are the right things that I'm doing, and see how to even improve them, get better with it. However, after that analyzation also, I realized there's only that much that you can do. So I started creating more things, planning the future, doing some exciting work. I've been collaborating with artists. So we created a series of artworks for Torani of imagining.
I saw that. That's brilliant. Yeah.
And now for me, after now this is open, it makes me feel almost like I've restarted again. I feel like I'm back exactly where I was 2 years back, because a lot of the team people have migrated back to their villages. We have whoever has remained in Delhi, we've kept them, or we could afford, and we've taken a few extra floors so they can be separated and sit in with distancing, proper distancing. However, and I've just realized that so this journey has kind of become even more exciting, because now I feel like now this is a bigger challenge which I didn't assume would come. So I'm taking it as a challenge that we need to get through this, because I also am a firm believer of you can't, at least as a team leader, I can't afford to be hopeless. I can't afford to be a downer. And especially, and I know it's harder, I mean, it's easier said than done, but I really don't have a choice. And that's because today, a lot of the times, I've even said it in earlier interviews, etc. There comes a point in any brand's life then that the brand can't only be yours. It is really about the people who work with me, because they have made it happen. So I can't be selfish and be like, oh, I am so parishan, and I'll put my head on a bed and I'm like, everything is going kaput, nothing is working, nothing is selling. I have to make sure it works so people get jobs. In my team, we all get to employ the same people. We get them to give the salaries. So, and a lot of that energy has also come from friends, people like you, people who've been constantly boosting, no, go for it, like just giving me a lot of positive energy. And you need to keep keep yourself around those people who give you that energy. So I feel
absolutely
that's really important. So now this is my last question. We that we as an industry suffer from a lot of stereotypes, and I think especially for you as a model, I think it's even worse. Like, the worst kind of stereotypes that one can imagine. Everything that is wrong with the industry, I think we kind of put it either on the models or on the designers as a whole. But from what I've seen, you're one of the toughest kind of disciplinarian. You come on the shoot, you note your time, and you tell me, Karan, acha, itne baje time start hua hai, and this is the time I have to go. I have my family also. My daughter is waiting. You don't smoke. I've been at parties around you. You don't smoke. You don't do drugs. Also because we've spoken about this before. And even though you have many friends in the industry, you have kept this reserved kind of a personal life. Like, I know that even in your birthdays, etc., there are only those set of people who are actually really, really close to you, and not just because you're in the industry, so everybody is invited, is there. So is it all really true? Are you have you always been this good girl, or are you just really good at hiding everything?
So, well, the naughty and the bad part of me, I'm obviously not going to talk to you about it in camera. Maybe when we meet together, maybe then I'll expose myself. But,
so there is
honestly,
naughty, huh?
I have to be. I mean, come on, I'm not that boring. So, Karan, I have always believed in balance. I feel the industry, when I entered it, at that point of time, I'm from an army background. I come from a discipline, kind of a lot of discipline. And I remember for the first 2 years, I was wondering, where have I landed? Am I? I used to think, and I remember I spoke to my then friend and present husband, and I remember after a year or so, I called him up and I said, either the industry is not meant for me, or I am not meant for the industry. There is something wrong. You know, you say hello to people or good morning to people, they don't reply back. You know, there were some really strange experiences that I had. And
please talk about some of them. Give us some gossip. Give us some fun.
I'll write a book. When I retire, I'll write a book.
Yes, but we've gone through the, you know, like the important things that we had to talk about. Now let's have some fun. You should tell me some fun things. Tell me one fun story.
So many. There's so many.
Tell one.
So listen to this. So anyway, so I know I can't take names. I'm still working, but I will write a book one day. Okay?
Don't take names, but give us the story.
I'm telling you. So, you know, you would say good morning to somebody, you know, this is what you do. And, you know, people would look at you like, why did she say good morning? I mean, where is the hey and hi and, you know, all of that. So there was this energy too. And there was a different energy as well. But the point is, my husband told me something very important. He told me that, Lakshmi, you're not there to make friends. You're there for a job. You know, that is not your life. That's your professional life. And then you make your personal life with the people that you want to make your personal life with. And that struck me. I said, okay, that could work. So I had, whenever I would go for work, I would take my book along with me. I used to ride a bike at that point of time. And my motorcycle. I'm a biker, by the way. So I used to ride a bike to work, and I would read my book, and I would, you know, I would just be by myself, do my job, and get up. And I found peace in that. And that is the reason why I figured that, you know, and then I found the right friends, you know, people who are grounded, had more depth in them. Not that everybody doesn't, you know, we all form groups. You know, there are always groupism that happens in every industry. I never wanted to be a part of it. So I was always out of that. And so I feel I kind of managed to create a space for myself because I wasn't trying too hard. I would only make efforts with my work and not with interpersonal relationships with my colleagues or with my people that I was working for. And when I would come back home, my life was completely different. And I would not stay back in parties for too long at that point of time. Now, if I like a party, if I enjoy it, and if I like the music, I will be there. Even today, if I'm only at a party if the music is amazing. If the music is not amazing, you will see me disappearing within seconds. You know, because I am not that person. I have always been like that. And that has really, really kept me grounded. I feel my family's kept me grounded too, because, you know, we are from an army background. And again, I married an army officer. So that also kept me, you know, balanced between the two worlds. The glamour industry can actually get to you. It has a lot of opportunities to it exposes you to a lot of things. And you need to choose what you want to, you know, pick up and what you want to discard. And the ones who are smart will concentrate on their work and keep a work and professional life balance. So hence it kind of kept it all very together for me. I also had the sense to invest my money. So 50% of my money used to be saved, and I would invest in my property or whatever that I wanted to do. Also, this financial stability also, Karan, really, really helps. It helps me, it helps the individual think more towards that section. So I feel that a job of a model is just not to walk the ramp and look pretty. She is an institution of her own. She is her own. That's her business. So if a model needs to be serious about it and needs to reach somewhere, she needs to manage it like a business, which is take care of finances, take care of administration, take care of health, take care of balance when it comes to, you know, have a family also, and be good at her work. So it's a package. And one needs to understand that.
Yeah. And I remember reading at one of the quotes you had given for this book by Shefali Vasudev called The Powder Room. And you had mentioned that, you know, like I am my own boss. Why? Just because I'm a model, it does not, like, it's not that the industry is dictating my career anyway. I choose the shoots I do. I choose the shows I do. And if I don't feel like doing it, I don't do it. So I feel like that's also another kind of a freedom that comes with it and kind of dictates well where you are. So now it's your turn. The last question.
Okay, so my question, and I have been thinking about this because I have been looking at your website and I've been noticing what you've been making recently. You know, your clothes are very couture-ish as well. I feel that, you know, they have that space because they are so unique. The embroidery is so detailed. And I feel that, you know, you would be so amazing if you do a couture show one day.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, are you doing it? When are you doing it? And what are you planning for it?
So I've spoken about just the just the advancement of the brand before also, and in fact, and I've said this, that the only thing that gets me excited is just being boundless. The simple fact that, you know, Torani is for me a feeling. It's just storytelling. Like I said, clothes are a part of it. Tomorrow, I actually, why just couture? I'm actually thinking of doing home decor. I'm thinking of making from your bed sheets, quilts, curtains, table covers, shoes, accessories, jewelry, and to luxury outfits for the brides. So I am actually venturing into that. For me, 2020 was the year to, by the end of it, to kind of venture slowly into bridal couture and have a few pieces and do like my own bit of just kind of like say 7 to 10 ensembles only, but really put my heart into it. But how things have, and I was planning that from, you know, like around from summer to around say September, October, I'll give myself about 6 months, good months, and because that's the kind of time it takes to make one beautiful ensemble in couture. So I thought I'll give my all my heart, all my time. But just how luck has was to be that now we have to delay that process. So I am gonna do it. If now not in 2020, it's gonna be in 2021. It's really exciting for me. It's also scary, hence it's more exciting. And I had planned something absolutely, how do I say, if without being immodest, but grand, if I could say so myself, in my own little way, special but grand. And I remember I'd even called you once. I keep calling you to check if you're free on certain dates, but then that thing keeps getting delayed. Something or the other happens. So I'm planning to do that next year, and but I'm also planning to do a lot many other things. With couture is one part of it, but I also started kids wear this year in 2020. So I'm also
Wow,
planning. Yeah, so that's because
amazing.
I feel like I said, this experience of, you know, getting to know the brand should not just be limited to any age, gender, you know, size, prototype. So like I want kids to wear the brand, I want men to wear the brand. We've also had menswear, but now I also want to get into, you know, for somebody who just is not investing into clothes but just wants a memory of Torani or something special. So something as simple as a cushion cover for me would also make so much of a difference. And I feel like there is a space that's missing, and it also gets me excited. And I feel like there is a huge scope for the brand to, you know, because there are some things that I can do which I can't do in clothes. Like for example, if I, you know, present you a little coin by Torani or something or the other, which is a more smaller souvenir which you can also gift, because with clothes you're restricted to sizes and comfort of a person. But so I feel like I want to also add to that. So I hope we get to do that in 2021.
So basically, you're turning your business like to the with the name. It's associating itself with the name, the House of Torani. It's basically
Yes.
going to have everything that is there in a house, right?
Hopefully, God willing. Yes. Yes.
All the
That's the
best for that, Karan. That's brilliant. I feel you will be you are one of the brightest looking stars in the fashion industry right now, and I wish you all the very best. And may you stay as modest as ever, because this is who you are. And even though there will be success and a lot of success that will come to you, but I believe this you've always been so far.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. And thank you for doing this. You know, you've always been my muse. And I hope things ease out soon and we get to work really soon and create some magic. And just the fact that if nothing else,
I'm
I'll
so
come down
looking
and chill
forward to
with you
it.
and, you know, have a drink
Oh,
with you.
that'll be amazing. Yes, that'll
Yeah.
be amazing. What a lovely
Thank you.
chat.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Karan.
Bye.
Lots
Thank
of
you.
love. Bye.
Bye.